Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. This year's Joburg Indaba kicked off with strong sentiments from government and industry players. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer attended and has the headlines. Welcome, Martin.
Hi, Sashnee.
Now, you spoke to De Beers Consolidated Mines CEO about constraints that they're experiencing.
Yeah, no, it's around the exploration issue, greenfields exploration, which we desperately need in South Africa. I mean, you can see how the Canadians incentivize it. They've got the flow-through scheme, because it's not something people will do off their own bat, because there's too much risk. You can see how the Australians incentivize it, the government, pleading with people to do exploration. Now, De Beers is not asking the government for anything except to just approve 54 applications. They've got 54 applications. They're prepared to do their own thing, take the risk. Government doesn't understand that this is not a dripping roast. It's like doing research in a lab. It might all go wrong. You might get nothing out of it. And so De Beers are willing to take it on because they've been here since 1888. They have got a lot of data, so they're fairly confident. 54 applications in over 2 years, none approved. So, you wonder, does the Department of Mineral Resources really want to do something positive for just, say, the many mining engineering graduates that are coming out of our universities at the moment? 95% of those graduates are black. We've never had so many mining graduates emerging from universities, and it was done because we had a growing mining industry that had prospects for growth. The only way you can grow this is to explore. You can see, with De Beers now, by 2020, they're going to be down to one mine, Venetia, because their Voorspoed mine is going to close. They had these 54 applications in since 2013, and well, probably a little bit later than that, but they were preparing it. With no response from government, no positive plus and go ahead with this. And those students, now, where are they supposed to get jobs if this is the attitude of government? Government's supposed to be supporting people coming into the job market, trying to create jobs. No, they're destroying jobs. They won't even allow people to spend their own hard-earned money on fairly risky projects, which would require the services of these graduates coming off. So it's very, very disappointing. And one needs to say that, the DMR as it now stands has to be changed. The leadership there has to be changed. And we note that, at the Joburg Indaba, when they put it to the vote, whether the incumbent minister should continue, obviously a lot of people in that returned the answer no. He should be removed. So that is the sentiment at the moment, that the leadership is not right in this industry.
Now, despite strong objections to unethical leadership, the Chamber of Mines says that it is committed to finding workable solutions in the national interest.
And I'm very pleased with the leadership there. Moodley Mogojo, he's an ideal person to have there. 57-year-old, he's been through the mill of mining. He's got a company that he leads with 6,000 people. It's got a value of 40 billion rand. It's one of the biggest spenders at the moment. They're planning to spend 20 billion on coal. Who's doing that at the moment? So they also are wise in the way they look at the whole energy, because they're also in wind energy. So they know that changes are coming, but they also know that there's big demand in the medium term. So you've got to have that coal going through to power stations, otherwise we're not going to have power. Now, Moodley Mogojo, he's now leading the Chamber of Mines. He's the president of the Chamber of Mines. And you can see he's a forthright fella who tells it as it is. And I think that he is going to be true to his word, where he will make sure that the mining industry does what's in the national interest for South Africa, like creating jobs, like investing money, like making sure that there are exports, like seeing to the logistics with government. And you saw Moodley Mogojo, the new president of the Chamber of Mines of South Africa, doing a fantastic deal this week with Transnet. So you can see that the government and the private sector can work together. And it's a big disappointment that Moodley Mogojo has to also draw a line when it comes to the Department of Mineral Resources. So far and no further. We're getting cooperation from government. We're getting cooperation in the quasi-government area. We're getting a lot of cooperation from the scientific bodies. We're doing research, but nothing from our own ministry. And therefore he's drawn a line on behalf of the Chamber and with the Chamber, saying we're going to go through the court process because we've tried to negotiate in good faith. It hasn't got us anywhere. Now, all the negotiations, all our proposals have been ignored, and a unilateral gazetting is now being declared as law, which is nonsense. So it has to go through this court process. Hopefully, at the end of it all, we'll have to re-look at the mining charter. And Moodley is making it clear now that they are doing this in advance of any court case. While this court case is going on, they're studying what is best for South Africa, what should be in that charter. I'm sure they're saying, should there be a charter? I mean, it's going like as deep as that. But if we follow some of the great things in Africa that are happening now, which are ahead of us, like the African mining vision, the Zimbabwe protocol, we will have an ethical industry. And what the Chamber of Mines, under the leadership of Moodley Magojo, they're going to take that name, Chamber of Mines, and they're going to throw it in the bin. And they're going to rebrand. Because when you throw that name in the bin, you're throwing away all that apartheid legacy and that bad past that it had, which they're acknowledging. Turf it. Start again with a new name and a new branding, and be broader. Broader because it's astounding that when the gold miners of the Free State used to be drilling for gold, they would drill right through gas, helium, everything, not even take note. Oh, they just wanted the gold. And a lot of that gas, the methane gas there, has killed miners. But anyway, be that as it may, you can see now other interests are going in and saying, hey, you just went through gas, we can do something with that. So if the Chamber of Mines is broader under a new name, perhaps it can be a resources industry, which will also look at things like that for the good of the country. Why not use that helium for the good of the country, all the other gas that was in the Free State that we just ignored? And we know Moodley Magojo, he's already said mines have got a lot of land. Often they're underground or they've got an open pit, but they've still got a lot of land. That land can be used for agriculture. That can be used for community development around the mines. So I'm not saying that agriculture will come into mining, although being resources it could, but I think it's going to be a broader church. It's going to be a far more meaningful organization. And he's also demanding that they look inside. And the people in the industry and members must be ethical. There must be ethical leadership here and acting in the national interest. And I think that we've got a good, strong, forthright leader in Moodley Magojo, who did his matric in the United States, did his early university in the United States, and was the son of a pastor. So he's got a good spiritual background, and hopefully that will be put to good effect.
Now, mining innovation was a hot topic at the Indaba. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, mining innovation. What are we as South Africans and the world going to do about the speed at which new technology is moving in? And not only new technology, but new attitudes that include technology, but are also not strictly technology. There are big moves coming in. Now, we see this report coming from Sweden, where a zinc mine in Sweden that goes back to the 13th century was the most old-fashioned zinc mine. It was the most old-fashioned mine probably in the world. It has now become the most modern in the world because they've got robots down there already with sensors telling everybody what's going on. Then the people who used to risk their lives to go down there, they hardly go down anymore because the work is being done with equipment. And even unionists and former unionists that attended the Joburg Indaba this week, they made it clear that the unions are already aware of this, that they're not only aware of the word mechanization, but they're aware of the word automation and robots. And they are realizing that they got to reposition themselves, because when you introduce this new technology, you must put people at the center. And if you put people at the center, there need not be huge job loss, but there will certainly be a need to reorientate people, re-educate people, direct them particularly along the information technology, IT field, because you can see there that digitization is really flying through. How do you think these robots are working there? There's so much data that they can actually be directed, and you're getting a more precise mining, because mining is notoriously wasteful, and you don't want to bring all that waste to surface because it costs you a fortune. Those little robots, they will be precise. They will get out that precious metal, or they'll get out the ore body, that and nothing else, and bring it to you. Maybe they won't even bring it to you as that, because they might have systems that underground that actually turn it into a more semi-finished good underground, which means that the cost of transport just collapse. Now, I mean, I've been accused of pushing this too hard, and I had in my headline that there could be a boom from this. And people said, don't use the word boom, you know, it's sustainability. But if some of this comes through, some of those mines are going to have a massive profit margin, you know, fairly quickly. What about those who don't do it? So, and that's what I think all of us in South Africa must realize, that we must be prepared to adapt. And there are possibilities. You can see there's a research center now in Joburg and Richmond, at Carlo Road, staffed by 50 people. We've got to start thinking. We've got to start thinking clearly.
Now, in his keynote address, DA leader Mmusi Maimane said that the mining charter should be ripped up.
Yes. Now, that was a very important point that he brought to the Joburg Indaba. So here you've got the leader of the opposition also at this meeting. He leads the Democratic Alliance in Parliament, and he comes with his insight there. And one of the things was that this Mining Charter 3 should be ripped up and thrown in the bin, because it is actually unworkable. You don't care which mining jurisdiction you go, even if you go to the moon, you're not going to get this thing working. It's just a non-starter. He also wanted the MPRA, MPRDA, that mineral legislation, turf it in the bin. But he also wanted favourable taxes, because you can see that, you know, there needs to be a re-stimulation of this mining industry. When mining does badly, South Africa does badly. So why not let mining do well? Even if you've got to just give it a bit of incentive, maybe with a sunset clause. We've had situations in the past, we've had certain write-offs, quick write-offs would have stimulated a lot of activity. We need to stimulate this a bit more, because we're falling behind desperately on the exploration front. So can't we do what the Canadians do with the flow-through scheme, which means that an ordinary taxi driver in Toronto, he becomes an investor in exploration. Why does he do that? Because the explorer doesn't want to take all the risk. The government wants these guys to take risk, so they're saying we'll flow back. And you know what you spend there, if the taxi driver invests in it, come the end of the financial year, he will be able to take off his earnings, what he's invested in you. And look, when you go to Toronto and you look at those buildings, you can hardly see, because the skyscrapers are there, all because of mining. We could have the same. Mmusi Maimane said, why has Perth got the skyscrapers at the moment? Why am I looking up and seeing BHP Bulletin, big signs in Perth? This should be Joburg. He said, how come we've only got 22 mining companies on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, when Canada and Australia got 200 of these things? Now we should be the leaders. So come on, guys, get that junior mining going as well. And that was a big thing, the big J at the moment, the junior mining. A lot of people are talking about that, because you know, if you've got these graduates coming off now and you incentivize the exploration, you could have a movement where the entrepreneurs get going just with a specific aim of turning a certain ore body to account, instead of having a whole lot of ore bodies at this stage, and then get that going into the market, which could stimulate this mining industry.
Thanks for speaking with us, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Sashnee.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.